Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I've tried in 2021. A lot of these are not new to 2021. They didn't come out to the market in 2021, but I picked them up. Some I think did. So there's a mixture. There's also a mixture of what size. The smallest size palette that I'm going to be talking about are little quads. And then the largest I think is about 18 or 20 shades. So yeah, let's just get stuck in because I don't want this video to be super long. There are some chickens making noise outside. They're not my chickens, but they're the neighbor's chickens. So if you can hear that, I'm sorry. I can't really tell them to shut up. But this is a good time for me to film, so I'm just gonna film and hopefully it will be good. So I've just counted and I have 30 eyeshadow palettes that I'm going to be talking about. There are some eyeshadow palettes that I still have yet to try in my collection, so I'm not going to be talking about those, but I might have picked them up this year. Actually, well, I did pick them up this year. So yeah, I have an issue. That is an awful lot of eyeshadow that has come into my collection. I will say this, the previous year in 2020, I wouldn't have had as many that I could have ranked. So yeah, this year has been not the best in terms of eyeshadow palettes, but I do feel like I'm coming down on the high of purchasing new eyeshadows. I'm figuring out what I like and I'm actually quite happy with my collection as it is right now. But yes, there are still some eyeshadow palettes that I have yet to try that I still need to try. So yes, don't judge. I'm so sorry. Also, this video is just for fun, so if I'm ranking an eyeshadow palette that you absolutely love, please don't take it the wrong way. It's just my preference, whether it be color story, the quality, maybe I have a bad batch, maybe I just don't particularly like it, maybe it's the packaging, anything like that. So don't look at it as an attack on your personal favorite if I end up doing that, but yeah, I'm just gonna get started. So number 30, I saw a mixed bag of reviews, honestly. I saw this as soon as it launched and I purchased it because I loved the color story. So it is my e.l.f. Retro Mood X Tiana Major 9. No idea who that is, but I really love this color story. And I have the Retro Paradise from the previous year and I loved that eyeshadow palette. I love it, still have it. And I just thought the quality was going to be really good on this one because it's the same size palette. The quality on this one, unfortunately, is really bad. I have still tried to work on it because I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's going to work. It looks so pretty. I want to work on this. But then every time I work on it, basically this whole row of mattes just don't really work for me. The shimmers were lovely. They're very beautiful. But you know, the mattes, the quality of them are so patchy. This one gives absolutely no color payoff. Swatches there, fine, but it doesn't stay that color. That's the problem with it. I've done a first impressions video and I was so excited to receive this. And when I did my first impressions, you could see I was really struggling because I didn't realize the quality was going to be so bad. And then since I purchased it, I've seen a mixed bag of reviews, people saying the same thing as me, and then some people absolutely love this. So that was such a heartbreaking one to me because usually I like e.l.f. quality. I don't think they're the best, but I think they're pretty good. And that one was a huge letdown. Okay, next up, I kind of regret purchasing these. So I could just do a video talking about my regret purchases, but I have 3 of these little 9 pans from Primark. Obviously, they are copying the Huda Beauty ones. And it's the neon collection. And I've kind of ranked them in this order. So my least favorite is the pink one here. They don't have any names or anything. The pink one I don't really like. I also don't particularly like the color story, but honestly, when I bought these, I kind of wanted to have the set, so that's my fault for buying them. And I don't really expect too much from Primark, although I do have some palettes from Primark that I really enjoy working with, so I don't know. My second least favorite out of these, so this is the 28th palette, would be the green neon. This color story is beautiful, and this is the reason why I actually purchased them. I just thought this was so unique and interesting. The quality is pretty poor. I had it in my Panos eyeshadows. I was trying to pan this one, which is just a shimmery green. I played around with it a little bit. I think, in fairness to it, it's not that bad. It's just comparing it to all the other eyeshadow palettes that I've tried this year, it is pretty bad. And then the third one that I'm ranking, which so this will be number 27th, is the orange one. So this one, I usually like peachy colors anyway. You know, so it's got peachy and orange and yellow. This one's a really nice sort of summery one. When I played around with this one, I kind of enjoyed it. It was a little bit of a surprise, and I feel like the quality is nicer than the other two. So that one, I'm ranking it a little bit higher than the rest. All right, number 26. This is gonna really upset some people. It is my Blue Moon from Colourpop. I thought I was going to love this. And to be fair, I think the Billie Jean shade is really beautiful. I also think this Lumi shade is really beautiful, but I think the mattes are a little bit patchy. I have struggled with Fine China a couple times. I've struggled with Dabadi a few times as well, and I'm just not blown away by it. I'm going to have to play around with it a little bit more, maybe take it out in the Shop My Stash and really kind of focus on it a little bit. But I'm ranking it so low because I was so excited to get it. And basically I asked for the Colourpop Dream Set, and obviously this comes in it as well as all the other ones. And one of the reasons why I wanted the Dream Set is because this was in it, and I was like, oh, let me just get a collection. So I asked that for last Christmas and I got it. And out of the whole set, this is my least favorite. So I'm really disappointed with it. But I'm really hoping that if I put more time into it, I'll fall in love with it. But I don't know. I've struggled with it. Every time I've used a look or I've tried to do a look with it, I've struggled with it. And then number 25 is my Honey from Colourpop in the same set. This one, I think the quality is beautiful. I don't have any issues when I actually use this palette in terms of, applying it to my eyelids and how it looks. Basically, it looks pretty good. I think the only reason I'm ranking this lower than most is because it is yellow and it's honey yellow. And yes, it's in the name, Honey. It's just very unique to me, and I've done a few yellow looks and they've come out pretty nice, if I say so myself. I think they've been okay, but it's not a color that I usually go for when I'm doing my eyeshadow. So I have to really be in the mood for this and to pull it off. So it's one that it's just a color story that I don't really want to grab all the time, so that's why I'm ranking it so low. But I think the quality is much better than the Blue Moon one. Okay, moving on, I have my Nomad palette. This I do like. So you would see I did a 3 looks 1 palette video on this particular palette because I just thought it was an interesting color story. This is the Tokyo one, and it looks like this. It's just really beautiful. It's pastel-y. These shimmers are really gorgeous. They're just not super strong. So they're more like topper shades. And then you've got sort of this satin row, which is a little bit strange because they're not shimmers, but they're not mattes. And then you've just got the mattes down here. I think I just struggle with this in terms of the actual color story itself. It's just one that I would probably pull out in spring, and that's the only time I'm going to be using it. So it's not one that I want to use all year round. I did do a look with these two and then this green. It came out like a grungy look, and that was one of the looks that I sort of pulled together for my 3 looks 1 palette. But all the rest would be obviously bright and pastel-y, and it's just not a color story that I use that often, so that's why I'm ranking it low. I think the quality is pretty good, it's just not my favorite either. All right, next up is my Just My Luck from Colourpop. This one I would have ranked lower, but I did have it in my Pan Nose eyeshadow / Pan That palette sort of type project that I started in September, and I used it quite a bit. I had it all like in my Shop My Stash, and I put some use into it and I got to know it quite well. And I think these two are my favorite, these grungy shades. I think they're stunning. And I go through phases of liking green on my eyes. Sometimes I really don't want to, and I went through a really long phase of not wanting to touch green at all, and then I suddenly felt like touching green. I pulled this out and I really liked it, but at the same time it's still not a color story that I'm going to want all the time. So that's why I'm ranking it so low. I think the quality is fine, nothing wrong with it. Got no patchiness or anything like I did with the Blue Moon. It's just not something that I want to pull all the time. Next up, I'm going to add the Wild Child from Colourpop. I've forgotten what number I'm at, so if you're counting, let me know, but I don't really know. This one is a newer product to me. I picked it up not long ago, and I thought I was really going to love this. I tried it in my Shop My Stash. I wasn't all that impressed. I think my expectations were super high. Steph Lyons absolutely loves this, and I usually like what she likes. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to try it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just haven't fallen in love with it. I think it's a little bit too deep for what I was going for. So maybe at a certain time of the year, I'll want to pull this out. But yeah, I think I just need to play around with it a little bit more. It is beautiful. It's really rich and gorgeous when you look at it, but it's just not my favorite. I'm just thinking in terms of color story. I don't know what it is about it. I just wasn't blown away. Okay, next up is my main squeeze from Colourpop. So this one is obviously all reds and berries. It is a unique color story to me. If you know, you can only really go with one type of look when you use this. And that's why I'm ranking it in the lower half of my palettes that I've tried this year, just simply because it's not an everyday palette that I can use. I really thought I was going to like the Wild Child more than this, but I think I still like this one better. Nothing wrong with it, the quality is good, it's just not a color story that I can always pull. And then I've got one of my quads here. This is from Belle Pierre Cosmetics. This I really like. I'm just ranking it lower just because it's just like a one look, you know, and then you're done. It's also got a really big glitter shade in there. I think the two outer shimmers are stunning. They could also be used as inner corner highlights, or even, I would say this one, a highlighter as well. Sorry. Even this one as a highlighter as well, I think would be really nice. But there's just not a lot of variety on it. I think the color story is pretty, but you can't really do anything else with it. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through my other quads. So I've got this Sophia and Maybelle quad. It's kind of interesting that I'm ranking this higher than some of these other ones. It's just, I think this is just a nice, easy palette to grab. And I'm quite impressed with these three shades here. This one is just a really pale pink matte, and they didn't need that in the quad. They could have put something else, maybe just a better transitional shade. But these three, this is a shimmery shade, and this one as well. And then you've got your normal matte there. I think that actually they work really nicely. They look really beautiful. So yeah, quite impressed by this, but obviously I'm ranking it lower because it's just a quad and there's not much you can do with it. All right, the next one might upset some people. And you know, I think the only reason I'm ranking it on the lower end or sort of in the middle, it's because of the color story. I think it's, you know, I'm happy to support this person and also this brand. And I was really excited to purchase this. I was one of the first. I got it in the first round. But I just have realized it's not the color story for me. And it is the Club Nebula X Angelica, and obviously from Kaleidos. So this is my first Kaleidos palette. And it was a nice palette to try their formula on and try sort of their shimmers, because a lot of their shimmers are more like topper shimmers, and up until a few months ago I wasn't really into topper shimmers, but I've actually grown to really appreciate them and enjoy them a lot more. So you know, when I was looking into these, I would say this one's not so much, and this is gorgeous, but then all of like these three are sort of all toppers, and I don't know. I think also that the fact that it's dark around here, it's just not my favorite. Like if it was just that 9-pan there, I think it would be a little bit more interesting. Obviously you don't get the depth that Angelica loves, but I realized that I'm not like her, and I don't do those really deep, dark, beautiful looks that she does. I am much more basic than that. So I think this palette honestly just intimidates me, and still to this day, I've had it since March or April, whenever it came out. It just intimidates me, and I whenever I use it, my look always looks beautiful. So I've never had issues with it at all. I think the quality is really beautiful. I've had it in my pan nose eyeshadows a few times, and I've enjoyed it. It's just not a favorite. I wish I liked it more than I did, and I think now I know that I really should avoid palettes that have sort of like a deeper range here, because those shades are just not shades that I'm going to really gravitate towards when I actually have the palette. They're good to have every once in a while, but you know, there are how many shades? There's about yeah, there's 5 shades in here that I just don't want to use. So that's kind of a shame. And I didn't want to rank it there, but that's kind of where I need to if I want to be honest with myself. All right, and then I'm going to talk about another quad. So you're going to think I'm crazy, but I actually really like this Cella quad. This is I don't know, La Vie Neutral eyeshadow palette from Cella. It is just a little, tiny little palette. It's just so cute. But I think all of these shades are beautiful, stunning. They are, this one is foiled. It's really beautiful. And I just think I got this in a subscription box and I wasn't thinking, you know, it was going to be anything. I tried it a few months ago and I was pretty impressed. I think it's so nice. So this one I have to rank higher because in terms of a palette that I know I'm going to get use out of it and pleasure, I know that I'll enjoy this. And honestly, it's really great for travel because it's so teeny. All right, so pretty much the rest of all of these palettes, I don't really have anything bad to say about them. I've just tried to rank them and try to be honest with myself in terms of where I would put them. And yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it. It's mostly to do with color story at this point, or just how it makes me feel when I use the palette, if that makes sense. So the next one is my Pixie palette. This is the, what is this? The Heart Defensor. And this is my first Pixie palette I've ever tried. I got this in TK Maxx. It was very cheap. I think it was like £8 or something. And yeah, I just thought, oh, let me just try it. I never tried Pixie before. And I think these are really nice. There's nothing like super special about it, but as in terms of just an eyeshadow palette, I think it's pretty cohesive and I really like these shades. Normally, I think it's really wearable. It's something that I can pull and do a normal look and I can go out, or I can glam it up a little bit more. So yeah, I actually do like this palette. Okay, this one I've just tried in my Shop My Stash and I'm impressed by it. I've done only a couple looks though, so it's kind of hard to judge, but from what I've seen so far, I like it. So this is the Flutterby from Colourpop. I don't know why I always struggle to say that. I just think it's really beautiful. These mauves are really stunning, but in particular, I think this one is absolutely beautiful. I put this on the lid twice and it's just so beautiful. I haven't dipped into these darker tones yet, but I am excited to play around with this more. I just haven't tried this. I have some newer palettes in my Shop My Stash currently, and I just haven't got around to trying them yet, so I haven't been able to rank them. But I just think this is a beautiful shimmer, and you can blend it out, sort of like sheer it out a little bit if you need to. So yeah, I think this is really nice color story, and also the quality seems really nice as well. Next up is a palette that I recently tried. It is the Wine and Only from Colourpop. So this one, I thought I was going to like the, what is it called? The Wild Child as much as I like this one. I tried them both at the same time and I bought them at the same time and I definitely prefer this one. I just think it's a little bit more flattering, I guess. Maybe you know, the deeper berries just flatter me a little bit. I don't know, I just enjoy them a little bit more. I also prefer this to the Main Squeeze. I thought I would like the Main Squeeze more than this, but I think just these deeper, richer tones are a little bit nicer on my eyes. So yeah, I'm ranking that quite high. Next up, I wasn't really sure where to put this, but I don't have anything bad to say about it. I just don't particularly think it's the best quality, but I also don't think it's the worst. And yeah, I've always had really beautiful looks when using this, so I had to rank it a little bit higher. And this is my Essence Out in the Wild palette. This is the green one. I know they came out with a rosy one, but I picked up the green one. It's just got a lot of neutrals as well, and sort of like rusty gold tones in here. And every look I've done with this, I've really enjoyed it. Never had a bad experience with it. It's not the most pleasing palette, honestly, when you look at it, but I kind of like it and it was very affordable. My only Essence eyeshadow palette, and yeah, quite satisfied with it, to be honest. Next up, I believe I bought this year, but I might have bought it at the tail end of 2020. So if I did, just ignore this sort of palette in the ranking, but I believe that this one I picked up this year, and it is the Yasmin palette from Miami Beauty. Obviously she has gone out of business now, but I picked this up obviously before she did, and also before she even announced she was going to go out of business. I was excited when I first tried this because I thought, oh, this is really nice. And then I wanted to, you know, see what else she was going to come out with. And then obviously a couple months later, she decided that she was no longer going to be making makeup. So that's fine. I'm happy that I have this in my collection. I really like this palette. I've never had an issue with it. I think the shimmers are really, really stunning. They're a little bit crumbly, but honestly, I don't really mind. I have loved this palette ever since I got it. The mattes are super, super pigmented. You don't need a lot. There's not a lot of kick up either. And so I actually use this shade Trunk in my Pan Those eyeshadows for months. I used it so many times and there is no dent because you just need the lightest amount. And yeah, this one came broken, so I had to repress it. It looks a bit strange, but it works fine. And I love this palette, so I had to rank it. I have a feeling I might have got it in 2020, but I don't know. So yeah, if I did, then ignore that. Okay, next up, I'm going to put my Orange You Glad up here. This is from Colourpop, obviously, and looks like this. This is stunning. I absolutely love this shade. You can see I've got a little bit of a dip in there. I just love these peachy, orangey tones. They're just my color. I really enjoy them. So I even think this Clementine one is beautiful as well. So that one I'm ranking high. And then straight after that is my Mint to Be from Colourpop. Really enjoy this. I had this in my Pan as eyeshadows. I hit Pan, and I just really love the icy minty tones of this. Now, I don't know how this compares to the e.l.f. quad. I think a lot of people were saying the e.l.f. quad was better than this, the mint one. I'm not sure because I haven't tried that one, but I think this one is so nice. And I think it had mixed reviews, but to be honest, I think it's good. The only thing that I will say is I think the shimmers are a little bit more crumbly than what I usually get with Colourpop. I will say that. So I don't know if they just tried something different or I got a sort of one that was a little bit messed up. It doesn't bother me. I'm still ranking it really high. Okay, number 9. I've just counted. This is number 9. So this one is going to It's My Pleasure from Colourpop. This one is stunning. I really love this palette. This is another one that I see people declutter and I'm like, why? It's so beautiful. Or they say that they don't like this shade. I actually really like that shade, Pretty Cruel. I like that shade. There's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, I love this middle one, Earthshine. Mr. Sandman is really beautiful. But as a whole palette, really, really enjoy it. Kind of fell in love with purpley, pinks when I picked this up. So yeah, really enjoy this one. I had to rank it high because it's just a pleasure. It's my pleasure. It just is. Okay, number 8 is going to California Love. I have tried a lot of Colourpop this year, you will see. This is one of their 12 pans, and this is the first 12 pan that I've ever tried from Colourpop, and I really like this one, as you can see, because I'm ranking it so high. I had this shade as a focus shade. I kind of did this as a Pan That Palette, Pan Those eyeshadows, like focus for the month. I think that I did that in October or September. Yeah, I did that in October of this year, and I kind of fell in love with this. Really, really enjoyed it. Got to use all of the shades, and it just made me fall in love with the whole palette in general. So I really recommend doing that project if you want to copy me. Basically, I'm pulling Pan Those eyeshadows and Pan That Palette, combine them into one, focusing on 1 or 2 eyeshadow palettes for the month, or however long you want to do, and then rolling it out so that I don't get bored, but I also enjoy every single shade. And then from each of the palettes that I'm focusing on, I also randomly select 2 focus shades. And in here I had this one, and I also had this one. So yeah, I really, really loved it. I would say that our project worked because it definitely made me fall in love with this. I had no clue. It was the first time trying it, and then I pulled it from my shop, my stash. And I was like, no, let me pull it for that project as well. And then I fell in love with it. So really, really like that. That's number 8. And then this one comes really closely at number 7. Honestly, this one, all the California Love could have swapped between the two. They don't really make too much of a difference to me. This is the Nomad Cartagena Magicka palette. So this one I got with the Tokyo one at the same time, but this color story is just more me. And I feel like the quality of this palette is a lot nicer. I definitely love this shade. I think this silvery, shiny yellow shade is really stunning as well. And then all of these are gorgeous. I really need to pull this out. I feel like it's more of a summer palette, so I've just like not been touching it. But I look at it and I'm like, oh, I want to play with this. It's so beautiful. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad I tried both of them, because if I had only tried the Tokyo one, then I would probably never try Nomad again. But because I got this one and the Tokyo one, I got to see sort of the difference between their different palettes, you know, how they can be. I'm not entirely sure, you know, if I got another palette from Nomad, I would like it as much as this one or the Tokyo one. I think it all to do with the color story, to be honest. This color story is just much more stunning for me than the other one, and that's why I'm ranking it where I'm ranking it. Sorry, I keep moving the camera. Okay, moving on to number 6. So this one I have to give to Revolution. This is the Chilled palette, and this one I got for Christmas last year, and I tried it at the tail end, so I'm kind of ranking it for this year because that's where I put the most use into it. And it's so beautiful. It is currently in my Pan Those Eyeshadows / Pan That Palette project, and I'm really loving it. I just think it's so beautiful, really stunning. I need to dip into the greens more, so that's kind of why I wanted to pull it. But I think the neutral shades are just beautiful, and this is the only Revolution palette that I have that is in their tin format. Really, really enjoy it. I'm not sure if I really would pick up another Revolution palette, to be honest, unless the color story was amazing. But if it was like this, then yes, I would. I just have heard like so many different reviews on their different like multiple palettes. Obviously they're sister brands as well. You'd never know what you're gonna get with Revolution, but I think they have a winner with that one. Okay, next one is a new palette for me. This is from Juvia's Place. It's the Bronze Rustic, and I fell in love with this. I did a first impressions with it a few months ago, and this shade, oh my gosh, I was so surprised by this shade. I think it's just such a unique shade. I do not have anything like this in my collection. It is magical. It's a magical, magical shade. And the bronze and neutrals of this palette, everything is just beautiful. You only get 6 shades, but to me, they're all just so gorgeous. The quality of the shimmers are stunning. I don't know, I'm really, really, really impressed by Juvia's Place. I slept on the brand for a really long time. And I'm really happy that they're actually coming to Superdrug in the UK. Obviously, I don't live in the UK now, but if I did live in the UK, I would be running to Superdrug and picking these up, because I had to order these, and I ordered them. I waited quite a bit of time, and yeah, now that they're in the UK, I think the brand is going to explode, because, well, especially in the UK. And yeah, I think their quality is really beautiful, and I really like it. Okay, next up, I've got to give it to my Urban Decay Stone Vibes palette. So this one, I did a first impressions. I asked for it for Christmas, and I got it for Christmas last year, and I didn't try it until about January or February time, and I did my first impressions. My first impressions were good, but I was a little bit disappointed, I'm not going to lie. And then because I was disappointed, I really didn't use it for a really long time. This is what it looks like right now. But I started using it not too long ago again, and I just think it's beautiful. I think what happened was I was expecting something different with these shades. I wasn't expecting some of them to be so flaky. I wasn't expecting some of them to be more topper shades. I just was expecting a little bit more impact from some of them. Some of them give a lot of impact, like this one in particular is beautiful, and this green one, this blue one. But then you get to these, and they're not super impactful. But I feel like my tastes have kind of changed, because I now really like those shades. I particularly like this Raw Energy one, and I know some people really hate that one. I really like it. I mean, you can see I like it. I've dipped into there so much. I don't know what it is about it. And I saw so many negative reviews, and that kind of put me off as well after I'd done my first impression. Like, oh yeah, maybe I'm right, maybe I don't like it. But then I started to not listen to other people and just think about what I like, and I really like this, so I'm going to rank it as high as I am, which is number 4, because I think it's a good palette and my tastes have changed. So yeah, if you had asked me 6 months ago where I'd rank it, I probably ranked it way low, but I actually am ranking it a lot higher because I've had some really beautiful looks with it, and yeah, I just enjoy using it, so I think that's how I'm ranking. Okay, next up is a new palette for me. This is the Huda Beauty Desert Dust. I just recently used this in my Shop My Stash and also my Pan Those products. Pan Nose eyeshadows project, and yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I think I'm ranking it so high because it's freshly in my mind. I used every single shade at least once. I did multiple looks and I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been a pleasure, and I really like the color story because there's a lot of variety. You can go purples, you can go neutral, you can go really light pinks, you can go more orange tones, you can just go browns. There's just like, there's a lot of different flavors in this, which I really enjoy. And you know, you've got a couple shades that have a little bit of, you know, something going on. I like that. So there is a lot of variety in it. It's the first Huda Beauty palette that I have tried. I did pick up the Naughty Nude and the Mercury Retrograde, but I have yet to try them, so that's why I'm not ranking them yet. So yeah, my feelings might change, but you know, for now, I like that one. And then number 2 is my BH Cosmetics Chilling in Chicago. I had to give it to this one. This one would have been number 1 had it not been for what is number 1, to be honest. But this one I have a pan in. You know, these shades are really shallow, like these pans are super shallow, so that was actually really easy for me to hit pan. Made me nervous because I like this palette so much. I don't want to hit pan, but at the same time, it would be nice to hit pan everywhere. I love this color story. I'm sorry it's so reflective, but I love this color story. I just think it's so beautiful. This is not a palette that I was going to pick up from BH Cosmetics. It's the first BH Cosmetics palette that I've purchased. I've since purchased another one, which I have yet to try, but this one wasn't the first. I got this free with purchase when I was ordering from Beauty Bay, so I thought, oh, okay, well, let me get it then. And I'm so glad that I did because it's just so beautiful. I don't know what it is. I just love these. I love these shimmers, and the mattes are stunning, really beautiful, really easy to blend, really easy to use. I've never had a bad look with this, and I love these like neutral, there's like peaches tones and pinks and bronzy. Oh, I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. And the quality, comparing it to everything else, the quality is just perfect. And then my number 1 palette that I have tried this year is my Novena palette. Obviously, this is not a new palette at all, and it wasn't even my palette. I bought this from my mom and then she gave it back to me because she didn't want it. So I only started using this a few months ago, if you can believe that. But it's so stunning. And I had so much joy and pleasure using this, and I didn't want to stop using it. And comparing it to everything else that I've tried this year, if I just had one palette and everything else, you know, I had to get rid of, I would keep this one, to be honest. I just think it's so beautiful and makes me happy, brings me joy. I love the color story. Like, this is not an eyeshadow palette that I wanted for myself. So when I purchased this from my mom for Christmas last year, I didn't really want it. When I saw it, when it arrived, I was like, oh, that's pretty, but I still didn't really want it. It wasn't one that I was craving to have in my collection. And then when she was like, do you want it? I don't want it. I was like, yeah, okay. I didn't think that I would like it as much as I do, but I just think these shimmers are just beautiful. And then these mattes are all sort of different. Like, you can go really neutral, you can go warm tone, but then you've got like cool tones, and you've got the purples, but this beautiful dreamer shade is lovely. I just think everything about it is kind of a win for me. And I think it's a lot of people's favorite, and I know why. I just think it's really flattering on the eyes. It's really beautiful and rich, but not, you can be really subtle about it. So yeah, really enjoyed that palette. So I'm ranking it as my number 1 palette that I have tried this year. So my camera is about to die. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you liked the video. Like and subscribe if you would like to, and I will see you next time. Bye.